Bills National Football Show. Welcome aboard. Merry Christmas here as we get ready for one of the greatest weeks of the season. I love this time of year. I do. Bowl games, football, food, friends. This is what it's about here, man. Fun time this week. Everybody gets to kind of bury a hatchet a little bit. I don't know so much so when it comes to our family. We sit around and we argue all day. That's a good day at the Sileos. Sitting around and arguing all day. Arguing over your favorite sports team. Over your favorite movie, what have you here, man. Really, it's a great time. We're just a couple days out now. And good afternoon to you too, Tyler. We appreciate everybody coming aboard here. And it's Cowboy Eagle Week. What more to be said? You know, people always ask me, motivating players and motivating athletes. You don't have to motivate me for a game like this on Saturday. These are those self-motivating games. Okay? These are these games where I don't need a pep talk. Those are these games where you go, hey, I got a chance to be a star. How about Hassan Reddick? Hassan versus Michael Parsons. What if he outplays him? Has 3 sacks in the game, and Michael Parsons is a no-show. Doesn't he get to also start crowing a little bit like Michael Parsons was the other day? How about A.J. Brown barking? You think CD's better than me? Come on, man. I'll put that to sleep. How about Jalen Hurts? What a story this might be. He might play. He might not play. By the way, I'd be leaning more towards telling the Cowboys and everyone else out there that Jalen's more likely to play. Why would I want you preparing for a Gardner Minshew? You don't want to make that proclamation early in the week and say, Minshew's our guy. Make them have to prepare for both. Make them have to game plan for both. Get this, too. It's 2 different game plans. Minshew's a drop back. Jalen is a dual threat. Why not just go and make them have to prepare? I think it's brilliant. Mr. International, thank you on the jersey. John Tortorella gave me this Ranger jersey, and it was the Winter Classic. And Torts gave me this, put my number on it, put my name on it for me when he was the head coach of the Rangers. So I've known John Tortorella since his time when he was with the Tampa Bay Lightning and they won a Stanley Cup. I'm a huge John Tortorella fan, and I hope he can turn the Flyers around. And by the way, I'm trying to work him for a Flyers jersey too, or more appropriately for you hockey fans, I'm trying to work towards for a Flyers sweater, okay? I'm trying to get a sweater out of him, so hopefully we can get John. I'm trying to get John on too, by the way, so I appreciate everybody coming aboard here. Yeah, so Torts gave me this thing here, so I thought I would drop it this week here. So I got to ask you a question. Let's move on to the topics. By the way, Brad Sham, part of the broadcast team for the Dallas Cowboys, owns 3 Super Bowl rings. He's like the Merrill Reese of the Cowboys. And he'll join us at 4:30 Eastern time. Week 16 NFL. My Coach of the Year candidates. Also, we have, in my opinion, a storyline brewing here. Do you think the Philadelphia Eagles are manufacturing this drama to make this so that Jalen, do you agree? Jalen Hurts has gotten more publicity this week for being hurt by the national guys than his actual play on the field. Jeffrey Lurie is a Hollywood movie producer. I mean, I know some of you, I shot you down right away. Silsey's playing. Has Jalen Hurts got more publicity these last few days when they announced that his shoulder was hurt than any time during the year outside of Philly, of course? Right? He's dude, every television show is talking about the matchup on Saturday on whether or not Hurts is going to go. But you know what it's also doing? It's putting a spotlight on his play. And it's putting a spotlight on what he's accomplished this year and how far he's come. I think it's actually pretty brilliant. If this guy plays, they laid this yellow brick road out for him to lead up to this game. You're going to have a ton of eyes on this. Hey, look, if he plays, sure, okay. I don't want him to play. If it's significant, but boy, I'll tell you what, man, I watched a ton of shows today. All they talked about was Hurts' injury. And those same shows, week previous, month previous, I never heard those guys starting out with Jalen Hurts. His injury has actually put his play into focus. The story of Hurts being hurt has actually helped him. And it may help his case for the MVP if he plays on Saturday. This is really turning out to be a nice story this week for us. Eagle fans, your guy's getting publicity. Being hurt. It shows you the disrespect that the team and the player have gotten all year. When it took an injury for people to notice finally and go like this, the kid's playing great. The kid's playing great. We're also going to learn something else about the Eagles and the front office and the coaches. Let's go into the topics here. Appreciate everybody coming aboard. I'm going to get to all your takes, I promise. Obviously, Super Bowl is the most important thing you can possibly have right now. The Eagles front office, the coaching staff, will make the call on Hurts. Who makes the call on Hurts is my question. Who makes the call? Howie? Or Nick? Or the owner? Who makes the call on this? Who protects the player? Remember something. Before you answer that question, Howie's ass with Wentz was what? He didn't go back in that Seattle game. Right? Who makes the call? This is where we're going to find out about meddling. Howie Roseman should not be making the call here. Okay, he should not be. Howie pulls the strings, KC? And something as critical as this. Should it be the front office or should it be the head coach? Who should have the final say if Jalen plays on Saturday? Remember something. Got to say this to Howie. I said I thought it was a giant mistake not to play preseason games. They're the healthiest team in the NFL. He's been right on that also, and I've been wrong. Because you know what? It's 2 years now. It's 2 years that the Eagles have been relatively pretty healthy. Who should make the call on this? Nick or Howie? I thought about that. Howie's pulled all the right strings here, man. Or should it be the medical team? The problem that you get here is too many opinions. Someone's got to be the guy who makes the final decision. Who makes the final decision on whether or not he plays? And I don't believe Jalen Hurts should have a say in this. Because Jalen Hurts' ability during games to take off running are his decision, and we're in this position because of the position that the offensive coaches put the quarterback in. Jalen's going to want to play because Jalen wants to run when he doesn't see the offensive pass plays open. He can't be involved in the decision-making in this. Jalen Hurts cannot be involved. He cannot be involved in this. Who should make the call? I think the medical people should give their opinions on where he is and what the damage could be. Because I'm going to tell you this, guys. The Dallas Cowboys are going to run, and they're going to run, and they're going to run at Jalen Hurts, and they're going to bang that guy because guess why? They may see that guy in the playoffs again. You may lose this game to the Eagles if you're the Cowboys, but you know what you may also do? You may do some more damage to Jalen Hurts for that next game in the playoffs, the game that really matters. I think the Cowboys have come to the realization they're not winning the NFC East. But if Jalen Hurts plays, and if I were the Cowboys, I hope he plays. Because I'm going to hit him when he takes off running. I'm going to hit him late, and I'm going to hit him cheap, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that third game, that guy is not going to be healthy. So all of you that want Jalen to play, okay, great. I think the Dallas Cowboys have a game plan of roughing that guy up. The scoreboard, what does that do for Dallas? They've got a micro chance of winning the NFC East. A micro chance. I would go after Jalen Hurts as much as I possibly could. I would hurt that guy. Seals, that's not taking cheese shops. Welcome to the league, guys. Any chance you get at a wounded animal, you try taking that guy out. Joseph, Big Seals, your question proposes that the medical staff isn't making the call if Jalen plays. I think they're giving, Joseph, I think they're giving their opinion. I don't think medical staffs at all tell a player, unless it's a concussion, because once you're in concussion protocol, okay, that's a league format that you have to go through and procedures you have to go through to get cleared. If we're talking about a guy with a shoulder and you can play in pain, they're going to make a suggestion and they're going to make a recommendation, but it's going to come down to the coach, probably the general manager's decision on who plays or not. The biggest FU to the NFL and Fox Network would be the Eagles play their backups versus the Cowboys. Oh my God, would that be? That would be like when Shaq used to go back to Orlando and his Lakers used to play in Orlando. Shaq wouldn't play in Orlando because they ran some sort of stupid poll in the Orlando Sentinel that nobody wanted to pay Shaq $100 million, and he always held that against them. Every single time the Lakers would go back to Orlando, Shaq would never play. It used to be TNT games or what have you, NBC games. Shaq said, I'm not playing. He just wouldn't play, man. Okay? So, hey, I think the decision is going to come down on how he's going to make the call here. Yeah, we're not going to play him. Nick doesn't have that kind of power. Your general manager is going to make the call on whether or not your quarterback plays on Saturday. That's a problem for me. That's a problem. You don't have any true clarity in that building. When it comes to play calling situations from the Chicago game, Jalen's got more autonomy on the field than the offensive coordinator. And when it comes to Sunday or Saturday rosters, Howie makes the call. Man, you got a lot of dudes in the building. Usually that gets in the way, but we'll see. I think that guy is the Jerry Jones of GMs. Jerry's the owner / GM. He's never really been a GM. He's the owner. But Howie's like, he's like Jerry Jones, dude. He's like Jerry Jones. He loves the spotlight. He just does. He loves the spotlight. We're going to also talk about how do you put Gardner Minshew in a position to win? All right, let me throw this other topic at you here. Okay? Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones has not won a Super Bowl since Jimmy Johnson, who we had on the show yesterday. It's been his biggest failure. For the last 27 years, Jerry Jones has not been able to do the one thing that would solidify that Hall of Fame jacket that he wears. Can't win without Jimmy. He can't win without Jimmy. It's been documented, and there's the evidence. They got 3 playoff wins in the last 27 years. The Eagles have dominated the NFC East over the last 22 years. Dominated. Jerry can't win without Jimmy. Plain and simple. Jerry Jones is a brilliant NFL owner, and what he's done for the league is gold jacket worthy. As a football man, he's been a colossal failure. Football man, what have they won? Some would go like this, Sills, it's the number 1 franchise in the world when it comes to team value. Well, that's Jerry's brilliance. That's why he's a Hall of Famer. Not his football moves or his football decisions. They've been terrible. Jerry Jones has been a bad football guy. He's been a great owner, but a bad football guy because he gets in the way. He lights his team on fire, and the Dallas Chernobyls, they act up every single December, and we know what we're going to get. You know why? Because it's what I just talked about with the Eagles. Dude, there's got to be one head rooster in the hen house. And the guy in Philadelphia is in the front office. He's not a football man either. Howie Roseman's not a football man. Howie Roseman is a businessman. He's not a football man. He's not a talent evaluator. He's a businessman. That's why his strongest moves are with experienced free agents or trades. Howie's best moves have been, and he got lucky with Hurts. Remember, he drafted that guy to be a seatbelt, not the steering wheel. I don't give a shit what any of you say. Howie Roseman is a businessman. That's why I fired Doug. That's why he stands out in front of the locker room in Indianapolis, reminding people who he is and what he did this year. Okay? Switzer. Yeah, you know the first thing Switzer said with Larry Lacewell? Joseph sat down, looked at him, and said, "Where's Jimmy?" And Jerry goes like this. "Don't worry about it. Jimmy's been fired, Barry." And you know what? Barry Switzer said? "How could you two fuck this up so bad?" I'm quoting. And Barry knew it. Barry goes, "I'm just not going to do anything here. I'm not going to touch anything here. Everything's in place." Barry wasn't going to stay there long. The whole relationship with Barry Switzer and Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones all goes back to the 1964 Arkansas team. Jerry was the starting guard on it. Jimmy was an All-American nose guard on the national championship team, and Switzer was an assistant coach on that team. This all goes around in one circle. Larry Lacewell, all of those guys are stick as thieves. Hassan. I think you're outplaying your boy, Micah Parsons. I do. I really do. I see some of you guys over here, and I'm going to get to all your takes here in a second here. And I do want to acknowledge the passing of Franco Harris, one of the nicest people I have ever met in my entire life. Can you imagine this? Franco played on a team, the 22 starters in Pittsburgh that won 4 titles in 6 years. 4 titles in 6 years. There were 10 Hall of Famers on it. 10 Hall of Famers on that Steeler team. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I have to tell you this story about my grandpa. So we're watching the Steelers play. And my pop didn't really know the names of the guys. He loved football, so we used to watch Giant games all the time. And I don't know, I think the Steelers are playing the Giants or something like that, right? I think you guys will love this. So I go like this to my grandfather. I go, hey, see this guy here, man? Franco Harris, he's a great player. Dad, he's a great player. He's like, yeah, okay. You know, he didn't really think anything of it. I go, by the way, he's Italian. Franco, my grandfather goes, what? I go, yeah, he's Italian. His mother's Italian and his father's black. He goes, that guy right there is Italian? I go, he became my grandfather's favorite football player. He goes, that guy's Italian, right? Franco Harris. I go, look, in the stands, Franco's Italian Army. He's like, the mother's Italian. I go, yeah, the mother's Italian. Yeah. Hey, the mother's Italian. I go, yeah, the mom's Italian. He goes, holy cow. Became my grandfather's favorite football player after that when he heard that Franco was part Italian. He goes like this. He goes, that guy's, are you sure? I go, look, it says Franco's Italian Army. My grandfather was like, he loved Franco Harris forever after that. Loved it, man. Kyle says, Sills, my stepdad got to meet Franco and shake his hand, also invited him to dinner with Mel. Oh, my God, Mel Blount. Dude, Mel Blount was a spectacular football player. Tyler says, hey, Dan, how much pressure is on the Washington Commanders to make the playoffs? I think Ron Rivera deserves some conversation for NFL Coach of the Year. Rocky Bleier and Franco Harris were Piccolo and Sayers. Greasy, very nice. Francisco, my grandfather would have loved that even more. Hey, Mr. International, he goes, that guy's Italian. I go, yeah, he's Italian. Everyone, my pop, every time Franco Harris played, hey, there's Franco. Look at him. That guy's Italian right there. And I go, yes, he's Italian. Joseph, I kind of broached it a little bit. John Tortorelli gave me this Ranger jersey. It's a Winter Classic jersey when he was coaching the Rangers. So he gave it to Big Sills, put 93 on it for me. I go out to my mailbox and I'm like, what the hell is this? It's a Winter Classic sweater that Tortorella sent me from New York with, so I got so many of these, man. People send me all kinds of shit. All kinds of, I think Lombardi, when the Kings won the cup, I think he sent me one too. Dude, yeah, man. I love Torts. Trying to get him on the program. All right. Just to finish up with Franco, the Immaculate Reception, 50 years Friday. I'll tell you a story about Al Davis. You know, I told you guys that I was hired by Al personally to cover the Raiders. And he and I, just to go over the Immaculate Reception, he goes, who do you think the officials were talking to in the dugout there at Three Rivers? I go, I don't know, the league office? They go, talking to Roselle. The referees looked over at the cops that were there in Pittsburgh and went like this. Hey, if we change this call, are you going to get us out of here? The Pittsburgh police go, no. Touchdown. Coach Madden and Coach Davis, Those guys told me every single time I met them. To the day Al died and John Madden died, they believed that that play was not a legal play. And they think that Rozelle, because there was some big beef between Rozelle and Al Davis at the time, these guys were going back and forth on relocation and all that shit. Remember, Al was the commissioner of the American Football League. And Rozelle was the NFL commissioner. Part of the deal was that Al Davis would not be the commissioner of the NFL with the merger. Al Davis got the Raiders because of that. That's how Al became owner of the Raiders. It was a compromise. Okay, he can't be commissioner. So Al Davis will get the Raiders. And that's how that happened. He became, remember, he was a coach of the Raiders. He was the AFL Coach of the Year. He was a wide receiver coach in San Diego with the Chargers. Al wasn't the owner until they merged. Then the McGrath family, I think it's called, they allowed him into, that's why he was called the general managing partner. He was the managing general partner of the Raiders. There was partners, and Al Davis had say in the Raiders. That was the compromise on the merger and getting him not to be the commissioner and fight for the commissioner's job because they wanted Rozelle, all the owners. Yeah. That's how that whole thing panned out. All right. Cowboys and Eagle Week. Also, how do you put Gardner Minshew in a position to win? Let's do this. Let's first do Gardner Minshew. Then we'll put a game plan together here with Jalen. Same thing the Cowboys have to do. Fair? Okay. How would you put Gardner Minshew in a position to beat the Cowboys on Saturday? What would be the first thing that you would want to accomplish against the Cowboys? What would be the number one thing that you want to do against the Dallas Cowboys? Me personally, I want to run the ball. Dallas Goedert's going to be back. That's going to improve your run game on setting the edges. Micah Parsons has to deal with Dallas Goedert now. I thought the other tight ends, by the way, I think the tight ends, I think they did an admirable job. I really did. I think they did a very, very solid job without Goedert being out there. Couple holding penalties, there were some problems with that. Still, I thought they did a nice job. Okay? Establish Sanders, please. This is for Minshew now. Establish that. Why would you want to establish that? Because I want to keep Gardner Minshew in this game against the Cowboys on Saturday night in third and short all night long. You got to win first and second down. If you're Philly, you've got to win first and second down. And I think you can. The Dallas Cowboys' hole in their defense is in the D-line. They're spotty in the secondary, but they're worse in the D-line. Establish that. You see, the egos of the offensive coaches in Philly, these guys get ahead. These guys, you've got to actually coach this game. You've got to actually coach this game here. You've got to put a solid game plan together. Know your enemy. Know your enemy here, man. Dallas struggles against the run. That same Bears team that you stuffed and held them under 250 yards of total offense, they ran for 250 on the Cowboys. Are you trying to tell me you think that the Bears have a better running attack than the Philadelphia Eagles do? Boy, I don't. Even with Minshew as the quarterback. Run that damn ball at them. Shut them up. Shut them up right away. You know how do you shut somebody's ass up right away? Punch him in the face. Punch him in the face. Punch him in the face. Go out there and go like, dude, the worst thing you can do for a team like Dallas is throw the ball a ton. I don't care that's Minshew's strength. Good. Let Dallas have to prepare for that. The worst thing you can do to somebody is this. I'm going to run right here. Right here. I'm going to run right here. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. Step on their throats. Beat them up. Don't do this. Watch this. Here's what happened in the Chicago game. Here's what happened in the Chicago game. You ready? Even though you outplayed them and outperformed them, when you look at the box score, there wasn't really anything outside of the score that kept it close. Everything else was completely in the favor of the Eagles. How'd you keep Chicago in it? Couple turnovers? High percentage plays or what? Passes. And 3 and outs. All you needed was 5 3 and outs and 3 turnovers. And you made the game close in the fourth quarter. No turnovers. Run the ball. Hey, in a game like this is going to be a fourth quarter football game. If Jalen doesn't play, we'll talk if Jalen does play. But I wanted to throw this out how I think you go after the Dallas Cowboys with a game plan for Minshew. Keep him in third and short. Make sure play action is a thing. Make them have to defend play action. Seals Eagles are wearing all black Saturday. Awesome. Like Darth Vader. Okay, I love that. Like Darth Vader, all black. Come on. Dude, I'm all over that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Third and short. And on defense, what would you do if you're Jonathan Gannon? What would you do if you're Jonathan Gannon and you're the Eagle defensive players playing against that Cowboy defense? What would you guys want to try to establish right away? Who do you not want to beat you on that Cowboy offense? What player do you not want to beat you? Okay? What player? What player do you not want the Cowboys to beat you? CD says Ron. Pollard. Dak. I don't want Zeke and Pollard to beat me. I don't think Dak Prescott has it in him to win championship games. And this is a championship type game. You know, guys, I'm going to say this to you here. You know my convictions and some of the takes I've had on Jalen. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, about Dak Prescott. I don't think Dak Prescott has a championship gene. I don't think when I look at Dak Prescott, I don't see a champion. When I look at Dak Prescott, I don't see a guy in clutch situations that can win. And I'm going to say something here that you guys are probably not going to like. When I see Dak Prescott, I see Donovan McNabb. To be fair to Donovan, he did win more. And he did get into situations that put him in a place to potentially have greatness. Donovan McNabb missed greatness by a sliver. Dak hasn't got to that level, but when I see Dak Prescott, I see McNabb. Guys kind of throw the ball the same. They kind of run the same. Donovan, the fairness here, I think Donovan has one more, but I see the same guy. Okay? Donovan won way less. Joseph, he still got into those positions. The Cowboys have not made a conference championship game in 27 years. And during Dak's time, they get bounced in divisional rounds. Look, I do think the Dez Bryant Green Bay game, I think they got jobbed in that one. I thought they should have went to a conference title game there. But when I see Dak Prescott, I got it, Fly, and I just said that. Okay? But when I just see McNabb with Dak Prescott, not quite it. Fly, I get it. I just conceded that part. But when I see, okay, McNabb. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Am I wrong to make that comparison? Donovan McNabb and Dak Prescott are pretty much the same guy. Okay? Pretty much the same dude. Just not quite there. McNabb! I don't know why I keep doing that. Right? I think Dak Prescott, because when I look at Donovan McNabb doesn't have a championship gene. And I don't think Dak has. I do not. If I'm looking at building my football team around a championship quarterback, it's not Dak Prescott. And it's not Donovan McNabb. McNabb was so close to the gold jacket, though. When everything is said and done, I don't know if Dak will even get that close. Donovan was close. Dak's never been clutch. Okay? I mean, I know some of you guys have great respect for Donovan and what he did. Look, man, getting all those. Yeah, but wait a minute. Let me throw this at you here. Wasn't it more Andy Reid that got you guys to all those conference championship games? Has to be. How many have they gone to in Kansas City? 5? 6? He's doing the same shit in KC he did in Philly. I think it's Andy Reid. No, look, the quarterback in Kansas City is by far better than the guy in Philly for Andy. By far. McNabb is nowhere in that guy's conversation, Mahomes. But you can't just not bring up the fact. Well, look at all the championships that he brought up and put Philly in. And now look at what he's doing in Kansas City. It's pretty much the same stuff. Donovan McNabb and Dak Prescott remind me of each other. I thought about that last night before I was going to say this. Because I know the respect that you guys have for people that show up and play up. And McNabb, to all his credit during the regular season, I would even make this comment. Donovan McNabb, I mean, you could make the conversation, he's Kirk Cousins too. What's the respect level for him? He didn't really respect all of his teammates. He's by far less of a leader than Jalen. I'll tell you this, Jalen's by far a better leader than McNabb ever was. Okay? I think the most gifted player you've ever had at quarterback is Randall. And the guy who benefited off of having Andy and a really good defense, and Jim Johnson, a great coordinator, was Donovan. And I think right now, Jalen Hurts is carrying his offensive coaching staff on his back. I do. Okay? Xander's like, Hurts and McNabb not even comparable on leadership roles. Completely true. I always thought McNabb should have been the better guy. Look at how Brady handled Antonio Brown or any troubled guy like Aaron Hernandez. Those guys could talk all the shit they wanted on anybody. And Brady sat and took it, didn't say anything for the betterment of the player, because you know why? Brady knew those guys were too emotional to say anything back publicly on. Brady was a people person. Jalen Hurts is a people person. He knows who to kick. He knows who to pat. McNabb didn't care about that shit. I think Dak's a better leader than Donovan. I think he's a better leader because there's more respect in the league for him and more people like him. McNabb was a horrible leader and a horrible big game guy. He never stepped up. That's yet to be determined also on Jalen Hurts. We haven't seen Jalen in a big game yet. Fly goes, Antonio's still talking shit on Brady. Yeah, you don't hear Brady say anything. Because you know why? The less Brady says, the more of a fool Antonio Brown looks. That's what a leader does. He doesn't go out saying D-Jax doesn't deserve being a dual all-pro or pro bowler. Nobody says that shit but a donkey and a guy who's jealous. McNabb was so petty. That's why when you're looking, you know why? I get why everybody in Philly loves this kid. Because you had one of the biggest tool bags as a quarterback in the history of the league in McNabb. And you had one of the biggest babies of all time in Wentz. Wentz liked half the room instead of all the room. Jalen's one of those Brady kind of guys. Love all 53 guys in the place because you're going to need somewhere. Look at Gardner Minshew this week. Sometime or another, when you're in a 53-man locker room, your day's coming, your time's coming, you need to be ready. All of you will be involved in a championship moment somewhere in the mix. Sometime during the year, the coach is going to put his hand on you and go, we need you. And that's why guys like Brady, and that's why guys like Hurts, they get the best out of their teammates. Those guys get the best out of them. Look at Aaron Rodgers all of a sudden last month. Aaron Rodgers is finally sitting down with his wide receivers, and he's critiquing them after games now. He hasn't done that all year and even in training camp. This is the first time he's done that. And the players are getting better. How could you not listen to one of the greatest arms of all time if he just gave a shit? McNabb, he's Dak Prescott. I have a lot of respect for Dak and how he carries himself and how people around the league like him. But as a productive player, I think he puts up great empty calorie stats during the year. But when it comes time to living up to the $45 million contract he has, I think he fails miserably. That's when I was thinking this last night. And how I look at Dak, because I'll get to Jalen here in a minute if Jalen plays. Hurts versus Dak on Saturday night. What do you think the narrative would be? Let's just say hypothetically he was healthy. What would the narrative be? the young gun versus Dak. And media would be building this thing up, but I'd be like this. What has Dak won? The only thing Dak Prescott has won is a big contract. That doesn't necessarily mean you're worth it. Carson Wentz got a big contract. Kyler Murray got a big contract. Derek Carr got a big contract. That doesn't mean they're winning quarterbacks. These organizations that pay these guys before you do any winning, it shocks me. I think you have to do something significant before you get that. Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl and an MVP before he got his $500 million deal. I mean, at least they went to that extent. Kansas City wanted to be sure. First year starting, you won a Super Bowl. I mean, shit, I'm good. I'm good with that. I'm going to pay the kid. He's 23 years old at the time. He won a Super Bowl. He got an MVP. He's got a Super Bowl MVP. Shit, I'm paying the guy. We're so quick to pay him. Hey, the Wentz deal was a complete disaster for the Eagles. Hey, and you know what? I'll make a comparison to you on this. The Eagles got bailed out the same way the Redskins at the time got bailed out when they had Cousins in the 4th round. And they had RG3 with the number 1 pick, and that guy ended up getting hurt. Remember they franchise tagged Kirk Cousins for like 3 years? That's the only thing that saved Mike Shanahan, was that he kind of hedged his bets on RG3. Let me get a quarterback in the 4th round. Right? And by the way, for the record, wasn't Donovan McNabb absolutely horrible in like 3 or 4 of those NFC title games? Didn't he shit the bed in like 3 of them? Every time he got into a situation like that, I mean, it looked like he shit the bed. Wentz took them to the Super Bowl. If it not had been for Wentz, the baton wouldn't have passed. By the way, you know what today is? Do you guys know what today is? You guys know what today is? There's an Eagle anniversary. Do you know what the Eagle anniversary is today? How appropriate. In the same week, almost. Today, 5 years ago, in Nick Foles' first start, he goes 24 of 38 for 237 yards and 4 touchdowns versus the Giants. And they beat them. 5 years ago today, Nick Foles takes over for Wentz and beats the Giants with a 4-touchdown performance. And this week, you may have another guy stepping in and getting his moment. Look how history repeats itself, especially in the NFL. To 4 touchdowns. The guy comes off the pine and throws for 4 TDs. I think Gardner Minshew, the reason why that number is coming down to 4 now, and the people in Atlantic City and the people in Vegas are now going, I'm going to make it 4. I bet you by game time, even if Minshew starts, I bet you this thing's a 3-point game. Favor of the Cowboys. And the only reason that it's going to be a 3-point game is because you got a backup starting quarter, or you got a backup quarterback playing for the Eagles, who I think is still going to win. Hey, can I ask somebody in Philadelphia this question? Xander, maybe you can answer it. Why do you dudes like to do shit so hard? I mean, can't you just do it the easy way? Why does everything in Philly have to be so hard? Why do you make it so hard on yourselves? I mean, shit. If it's not the Kawhi Leonard circling the basket right, in the Eastern Conference Finals or whatever. Why do you guys have to make this thing so hard always? I mean, why? I mean, right? Say everything's going too smooth. Hey, if Dallas has a meltdown in like the Dallas Chernobyls in December, the Eagles in December have to make things harder on themselves every year, every time, every single situation. If it's not T.O. bitching with Donovan, if it's, oh, Jesus, went on to me. Nick Foles starting. God forbid you guys make it hard on yourselves. Generic, hey, Sills, do you think Hurts can transform into more of a classic pocket passer as he becomes more experienced, running only when forced? You mean, do I think he could become Russell Wilson? Generic. I don't think there's anything that Jalen Hurts can't accomplish. There, I said it. To what extent? I don't know. But I think he will go full bore trying to make that happen. I really do. I think he'll make that happen. I think he's a guy, in my opinion, that is just one of those dudes. He's just one of those guys that'll work his ass off. Joseph goes, hey, somebody record this. Well, I think his work ethic has proven that. And proven it to me that his work ethic, isn't it crazy, guys? You can outwork talent. Am I right when I say that? You can outwork talent. How many times do we see? Look at Brady outworking Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is more talented than Brady. Brady outworks him. He just outworked. That's why, to me, okay, there's more talented people than me that do sports talk and have sports shows. But the reason I don't take days off, because I'm outwork you. I'm going to outwork you. Because you know why? Everybody puts their hand up. Big Seals doesn't. I will never surrender. I will never surrender. I don't care how talented you are. I will never. And I'm the kind of guy you have to kill. Because I won't surrender. I don't care what it is. I'm like Al Capone in a way. You bring a gun, I'm going to bring a cannon. That's, I think, what Hurts is. He's that kind of guy too. Dude, when you got 53 guys or 80 guys like that, it was funny. Jimmy Johnson said this about me, and I had Xander cut it up for me. You were a handful, Sills. You know what some of my teammates who saw that interview and people around the country who saw that interview, you know what they said? Bro, there were 80 guys like you. There were 80 guys he was worried about. You know why you have that? That's called a pack. And when you got 80 dogs like that you got to keep on a leash, and you go like this on Saturdays or Sundays, let's go, and you let them dogs loose, bro, you got a rough one headed your way. You got a rough one. I played with 80 guys like that. I was a handful? Shit. You think Jerome wasn't? I like that mentality. I like having a whole locker room like that. All the guys are on leashes. I dig that kind of locker room. Very difficult to coach because you don't know what's going to happen with these guys. You think Michael Irvin? You think Mike was easy to coach? Dude, all them crazy dudes? Shit. Steals your heart on Hurts because I do love the kid. He's proving me wrong every week. He's proving me wrong every week like Lamar did. The only thing that I'm going to stick to, guys, you can't build your team around a dual threat quarterback. And that's why one of the guys asked the question, do I think he can grow into being a pocket passer? Some of those throws he made in Chicago that were over the shoulder, in the wind, in Chicago, I agree with Xander. Dude, some of those passes, Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown look like Willie Mays in the outfield in the World Series. I mean, you've got the defender, Brown, and the sideline right here, and he's dropping those in like this. In the wind, in Chicago, on the road, he can't feel his hands, and he's beat up. I don't know. That shows, and now that I know he's beat up, I'm telling you, man, that to me was the most inspirational game of the season for Jalen Hurts, that Chicago game. The Chicago game is the most inspirational. Yes, I'm comfortable saying that. That's the most inspirational game of the year. You're banged up. You're hurt. You can't feel your hands. And you got to go on the road and win a game against a team that's going to come after you. And they did come after him. Okay? Most inspirational game. Sills, you can't wait. You one day can remember when running was the only way to win. They had the West Coast offense. The game is completely different now. You've got to take advantage. You've got to take complete advantage of today's NFL. You know what, though? I will say this. Jalen's starting to get respect from the refs, except for this. Some of those hits on Jalen Hurts, you see the refs now starting to protect him more. You see what Sue did to Justin Fields? Slapped him upside the head. Sue's a dirty player. That's okay. I'm not bitching at him. He slapped him in the helmet. That should have been a 15-yard penalty. That's what I'm talking about, protecting the running quarterbacks. That shit doesn't last. You cannot build a championship team for a long period of time around a dual threat guy who runs as much as Jalen Hurts does. You can't. He's smarter. Yes. He's getting better passing. Yes. All of that is true. Okay? All of that is true. Completely true. Yale goes, what jersey's that? Alternate Rangers? Told you, man, it's Winter Classic. I love the fact Torts gave me this, man. John Tortorella is awesome to me. He's one of my favorite people. He's not for everyone, though. Hey, he's not for everyone. By the way, top of the hour, NFL Coach of the Year candidates. I have a vote. I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see. And the guys, and I get this. This list is completely upside down now. Also, Week 16, and Brad Sham, the legendary voice of the Dallas Cowboys, will get the opponent's view on how he thinks the Cowboys have played this season. Cowboys are 10-4, right? I don't know, man. It's been spotty. They've looked good like they did against Minnesota. And then you have a football team put 500 yards on you this past weekend in Jacksonville. I don't know. I think it's too inconsistent. Micah Parsons, Peter, has not outplayed the last 7 weeks Hassan Reddick. He has not. Okay? He has not. Jess says, Sills, you think the Eagles re-sign Bradbury or CJ? It's going to be a heavy price tag for both guys. CJ makes $836,000 base salary. Dude, he's going to go on the open market and get $12 million. And Bradbury's playing at a Pro Bowl level right now. He's going to be $14 million. You got $30 million decision to make in those two guys. $32 million decision. Now, do I think they're going to get max money at cornerback? No, but they're going to make north of $10 million. They're going to make north of $10 million. Reddick is better than Parsons? I don't think so, because Parsons can do more. But Reddick's turning out to be a better pass rusher. And that's what he's paid for. Hassan Reddick is not paid to cover tight ends. He's paid to get after a quarterback, and he's effectively doing it. He is. It just blows my mind. See, how about this? What makes this even crazier, Xander, everyone? So how come Arizona and Carolina would let a guy like that walk out? What Hassan Reddick has done? I had a question. Third team, 3 years. My question now goes like this. Wow, you talk about the shitty coaching in Arizona and in Carolina, and you couldn't figure it out? Wow, that's on them. They look dumb now. This guy's got, 12 sacks? I don't know. All I could do is go by observations here. So 2 teams let him walk. And this guy walks into Philly and now becomes the first guy in NFL history to have double-digit sack years on 3 different teams when Jadeveon Clowney's never had double-digit sack year in his entire career. And you're trying to tell me Clowney's better? I don't see it. I don't see it. All right, hour number 2 coming up. NFL Coach of the Year. Also, at bottom of the hour, Brad Sham, voice of the Dallas Cowboys, will join us. We'll get his perspective on, and one thing about Brad, he's like the Merrill Reese of the Cowboys. Brad's going to tell you the way it is. He's not one of those guys. He's going to tell you, I'm going to go, hey, man, why are the Cowboys 10-4? How do you think they've played so far? We'll get his thoughts. That'll be 4:30 Eastern time. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Post-game show with Seth Joyner.
I knew that they had a running game.
Derek Gunn.
He has put in the effort.
Devin Caney.
Had we not won the Super Bowl, what would we be saying?
And Mike Missinelli.
Well, you know who Philly is.
Post-game, now streaming on the 6ABC family of apps.